Hello, and welcome to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast with astrologer Shelley Overton. Hi, and welcome to the December 16th, 2022 edition of the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast with me, Shelley Overton. I am your astrologer in Orlando, Florida, and I want to thank you for showing up here this week. We are going to be going over, what the heck is my hair doing? We're going to be going over the chart with my new astrology software. I'm very excited. I have got some beautiful new software, so you get to see the beauty of these charts, and I'm going to use screen share now that I know how to do that. And we're going to go over what's coming up this week. I am sorry, this is probably going to be a little late because we had a 2.5 hour electrical outage today. And it was right, I was looking at what was going on with the charts, and it was right at void of course moon. So now the moon is in Libra and we can continue on. So I am going to be doing the breakdown of the signs for the upcoming year. That will be next week and the week after. I'm probably going to break it into two sections. I'm not sure which way I'm going to do that yet, whether it's going to be the first half of the zodiac and then the second half, or maybe fire and air and earth and water. We'll see what I feel, and probably going to record it throughout the week because it's a very long podcast. So that's coming, the next two shows, and we're going to go over what's going on in the sky now. We are doing an equal house chart. It's Aries on the horizon, which puts Libra on the descendant. So this is the ascendant and the descendant. And the moon is now in Libra. So of course it just moved into the 7th house of marriage and partnership. Ceres, C-E-R-E-S, is at 29 degrees, and this weekend goes into Libra as well. And that is a ruler of food. And I think of cereal, I mention this all the time. It's the beginning letters for the word cereal, and it directly relates. If you look at it, it's like a sickle to cut the wheat. So it relates to the food we put in our bodies. It's in Virgo, and definitely I've been having some issues with different types of food lately that are not agreeing with my system. It is intestines and digestion, and so that relates to that. And it's really kind of a heads up, like, hey, the foods you're eating are not agreeing with you. And that's my experience, but I have 4 planets in Virgo. It does, because it is in Virgo, respond to the body of everybody. This is how we determine how our health is affected by what we eat, what we ingest. And so that will be shifting into Libra. And that means that we will be looking more into how our diet is affecting others around us and what kind of food we might connect to with other people. And, you know, if you're into foodie culture, maybe there is someone coming in who will share your love of food and your love of knowledge around food and all things food. Moving over to the other side here, we're looking at Chiron in the first house, so it's in Aries. And I'm just going to go Aries all the way through the zodiac and tell you what's going on this in the chart, and then bring up a few key points for the week, because I think day by day it just bogs me down a bit. And so we're going to start skipping that unless there's more information I want to glean from every single day. But Chiron energy, again, I'm going to list all of these. I'm sorry if it's repetitive for those of you who watch a lot. It's actually a dwarf planet. We call it an asteroid, but Chiron is a dwarf planet. So that is the symbol for Chiron. It looks like a key, the quote unquote wounded healer, but so much more. Assists in an awareness of the humanities. So the arts, music, drama, poetry, film, art, music. I think I said that. Anyway, you get the idea. So when you have Chiron there, Chiron speaks to the energy of men. And that means that we are definitely seeing a masculine energy as it relates to maybe not feeling part of society, maybe not feeling validated or recognized. The male ego may be wounded. It is also race relations. We will see this very strongly, actually, probably starting this weekend. I was going to say next year, but we're so close to next year, and Jupiter is in the last degrees of Pisces and moves into Aries coming up early on 20th of the month, so that's Tuesday. And I'll give you the time since I've got it open here, 9:32 a.m. Eastern, 6:32 a.m. Pacific. And I believe that is 2 p.m. in Greenwich Mean Time. So when Jupiter moves into Aries, it expands. It is a very optimistic energy. At times, Aries can be very optimistic and forthright and expressive and directed. Aries is, of course, ruled by Mars. So right now, Jupiter is answering to Neptune, which is 7 degrees behind it. So they are rather moving in tandem, and it is very watery, emotional energy. I myself have been feeling very emotional. The weather has been overcast the last couple of days. We had a strong storm yesterday, which we even had a tornado watch here in Orlando. And I really think that this energy is churning up a lot of our emotions, as I have said in past podcasts, but it is kind of the culmination energy. And so we are really ramping up to release some of those deeper emotional, sentimental feelings. And as he moves into Aries, he shifts his rulership over to the Gemini Mars energy. And so we are no longer going to be in that Neptunian Jupiter energy and out of really expansiveness around esoteric storylines, sentimentality, vintage. We will still have a lot of that, honestly, because of the Neptune, but the expansion will now be focused on self, on identity, on ego, on promotion, self-promotion, taking action and maybe hammering it home, so to speak, because it is an energy of drive and hitting your head against a brick wall like the ram signifies is the energy of Aries, the icon of Aries. So Jupiter, it's the sports realm, which just means that it's going to be a really interesting World Cup game because that is played on Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern. And so I already feel the energy of Jupiter in Aries. I feel like it's coming in when I do these readings. I always feel the planetary shifts, especially the larger outer planets. They come in for me about 3 to 4 days earlier than they actually shift. And so, yes, I am already starting to feel that expansion into Aries and a certain detachment from the watery, sentimental energy and wanting to be much more driven and decisive about where I'm heading. And so Jupiter can also rule moves and, real estate and wanting to move to someplace new. And because Jupiter rules foreign countries, it is a strong energy around that type of move. Like we're doing a very large scale move or a significant move. And then he goes into Aries and answers to Mars. And so Mars is down here in the house of communications, the third house, 12 degrees retrograde. He is still there until the 12th of January next year. So that's roughly a month, another 4 weeks that we have to deal with this energy. But while he's retrograde, he is influencing us to really review where we have dual energy and the energy of decision and contracts around 2 different alternatives. And as Jupiter goes into Aries, of course, Aries is very much an energy of expression around self. And it's a quick energy, it's a decisive energy as far as I want what I want when I want it, and I want it now. So it is that little tantrumy kind of new young toddler energy. And so really we're going to see that kind of strong expression of shift and change, the transformation Jupiter brings in, and then the Aries drive to get it done and get it right and make it happen now. Of course, with the moon won't be in Libra by the time that happens. It will actually be a Pisces moon. Let me double check. 20th, I'm a week ahead, my bad. It will actually be a Scorpio moon, which makes it all the more decisive when it goes in because it will be Aries, which is a warrior energy, and then Scorpio, the strategist of war. And so we're going to have that strong decisiveness of action shift and change, and kind of I'm not going to take no for an answer energy, really. So we can look forward to the energy coming in that's really decisive. We're not going to feel the decisive energy over the weekend because the moon in Libra is going to be that balancing. Again, it's in an air sign. The air signs are about duality, multiplicity, and balance between different energies, multiple energies, which would also be Libra. And so having the moon in Libra for the course of the time before we get the shift with Jupiter is going to really bring us into a time of trying to have balance and trying to make a decision around a partnership, around a marriage situation, or just balancing out our relationships. And then, of course, Jupiter on the other side, as the moon gets closer to Scorpio. Let me see. No, that's not right. No, the moon in Libra is actually only 1 degree off an exact opposition. About 2 o'clock, when I had my electrical issues, she was in exact opposition to Jupiter. And so that also added to the situation at that time. And then there is a T square going on at today and still kind of there with the sun in Sagittarius. So sun at 24 degrees Sagittarius, you see up here at the top of the chart. So it is an energy around moving forward, going to another country, doing something with travel, wrapping up a storyline around all of that energy, making the decision about how that's going to look with the moon in Libra over the course of the weekend, really wanting to balance it out, and then making kind of a strong forward motion movement into the decisive energy of Scorpio. Scorpio is a very passionate energy. And as the moon moves into it, it will be like, I know what I want now. I was kind of balancing it out, but now I know for sure that I want this, and list in the blank. And then Jupiter goes into Aries, giving us that push to actually make it happen. Remember, Jupiter went into Aries really at the very beginning of this year. I'll tell you, Jupiter entered Aries like December 31st of last year. So was it 0 degrees at the very beginning of the year? And of course, the end of this year, Jupiter will be at 1 degree of Aries again. So really amazing if you think about it, that he went all the way into the sign halfway, about 14 degrees, retrograded back and got into Pisces, went direct in Pisces, and now is re-entering Aries the end of the year at the same place he was at the beginning of the year. And it will feel like that. It feels like that in my life. And I'm thinking probably I'm not alone. So Jupiter is really wanting us to expand into our own self, into our own personal energies. And so Jupiter at 0 degrees Aries, initiating new beginnings. Whatever we did this year was definitely an initiation at the beginning of the year with the Jupiter into Aries, and then a retrograde back into Pisces, reliving some of the old storylines and sentimentality, and really wrapping up the old emotions and desires and visions for our life, and then moving forward with taking action, a new home, a new place, a new beginning, maybe even a new love, new partnership coming in. Mars and Gemini right out of the gate, also 12 days into the new year, is going to really show us that we need to move forward with our decision about which alternate choice we are going to have, because the duality was reviewed during the Mars retrograde. And then when he goes direct, he has, about, let's see, 22 degrees, which is a really interesting number. It's been coming up a lot. Neptune's at 22 degrees. Mars, when he goes direct, will go direct at 8 degrees, and we'll have 22 degrees until he changes signs in, I believe it's May. And so we have 22 degrees to really move forward and culminate the energy, wrap up the story around duality, finish off the storylines of threads of the two different ways. Whichever one we don't go forward with, we're going to have to spend that time in the first 5 months of this coming year really finishing off that story. And then it is a story. Gemini is the storyteller. He wants to write, he wants to express, he wants to give us the information. So right now with Mars, the action retrograde in Gemini, it's like the information is not forthcoming completely. We won't really see all of the information come out until after January 12th. So while Jupiter is moving into Aries, he is also still holding back some of the information. And again, until we get that forward momentum, it's going to be kind of held close to the chest, even though we know what we want to do now. Not all the information will be forthcoming for a few more weeks. Then we have, Chiron, I don't know if I really wrapped up on Chiron. Chiron is going to really express, and especially with Jupiter coming up on Chiron, the wounding this year. We're going to see where maybe we're having more masculine issues, violence, aggression, assertiveness. Yes, probably Putin will be doing something more aggressive as the moon goes into Scorpio and Jupiter is in Aries. So look for that next week. I definitely think that there will be something going on, like definitely a chest pounding. Saturn in Aquarius, it's an Aquarius war. So Saturn is definitely bringing up the energy of that. But Saturn in the last 10 degrees of Aquarius is really highlighting, wrapping up the story around human rights. So I think as Saturn continues to move forward and gets to Pisces in March, he's going to really make it harder and harder for Putin to take the high moral ground. He doesn't anyway, and it's going to be even more self-evident for the world. Aquarius is a world energy. So we're going to see that. And then Chiron is also going to express the wounding of races, of also Jupiter rules polarity. So Jupiter may polarize us around race relations again. So for the course of the next 5 months, until he gets into Taurus, it's going to be probably a really intense first half of the year as far as that's concerned. And then really kind of coming to terms with what we want to say around aggression, around guns, around violence and knives. It can even include knives, and martial arts and physicality, sex. It is also probably highlighting teams in athletics, sales, and the Chiron energy is going to highlight how men may feel wounded by what's going on, like the inner wounding of the male ego. And then also women maybe rising up and really recognizing their own masculine side. So it's male energy, divine masculine, which can be seen in both masculine and feminine sides of everything. Okay, moving on to the Taurus decan, or the Taurus house. We have North Node at 12 still, and it shows it's stationing. And so, the nodes go back and forth continuously. I mean, if I could show you, you can't really see. Let me see if I can point to it. It's this line right here. Of course, I've got stupid green screen, but it goes gray, gray, white, gray, white. So it's always retrograding and going direct, and its natural motion is backwards. So it retrogrades into the sign before, but it's retrograding and going direct. So that's what the station is. It does it quite honestly, every few days, every couple of weeks maybe. But it is still at 12 degrees of Taurus. So there is still the storyline going on around money, around economics and financial markets and things like that, about a shift and change that will affect us significantly. And then Uranus is creeping backwards. Uranus doesn't go direct until January, and he actually gets direct at 14 degrees. So he is going to be chasing the North Node, but he is not going to catch the North Node. He goes direct at 14 degrees. The North Node will still continue to go 12 degrees and younger. So 11, 10, 9, 8. They are still fairly close to each other. So it is a significant time. I think that with all the planets really moving direct in the next few weeks, we will have this period. Of course, the node will go retrograde too during the time of clear forward momentum. Mercury will be going retrograde in the beginning weeks, right around the 28th of December. So we'll have the first 3 weeks with Mercury retrograde in Capricorn. And that's going to be some strong energy around adjusting what we feel about our own personal energy. Again, think of the storyline of Pluto through Capricorn, and that storyline is getting your sense of identity and self and taking care of yourself before others. That's the whole story that we've had for the time that Pluto's been in Capricorn. And so it is a time of taking care of self. And with Mercury retrograde, it's kind of like the contracts, the structure. How does that look? What are we going to do with it? Where's it going to be? How do we shore up the technical things around government, around, um, you know, what is the structure and system that we are going to move forward in this year with? And so there's a reevaluation we have coming in. It is going to definitely be cleaning house in a very pointed sense for the first 3 weeks of the year. One of the, it's not every year you get this kind of intense energy in Capricorn. We have had a few of those in the last few years with multiple planets joining up in N degrees of Capricorn. But this year in particular with Mercury, Mercury is our thought processes. So it is going to be a cleansing of our thought processes and our belief systems. So do we still hold the same belief systems? What are we going to take into the new year? It's going to be a tremendous watershed year, intellectually, psychologically, value systems, government systems, business systems, structures. We have so many planets shifting signs to new energy and really taking charge of a different storyline. This year is going to be a significant year to remember. 2023, when many, many things changed in our lives. All of us are going through major shifts and changes this year, and it's not going to let anyone be. We're all going to feel it. It is a Pluto shift, and Pluto shifts when they initiate. They rotor-rooter our psychology. They shift and change our belief systems and what we value. They shift our dogma. We're going from the structural energy and systematic energy to a quantum, multidimensional energy, which is science and technology. And so it's just quantum. We're going to start channeling higher understanding. We're going to see connectivity between us and other people, between our culture and other cultures, between our society on Earth and other planets in the solar system and even in the galaxy and out there in space. So it's going to be a tremendous boost into a new world and a new realm. And that's coming in for this year. We've got, I'm not going to talk about Pallas Athena much right now. Some of the asteroids, it's just going to be a lot longer podcast than I wanted if I do that. But I do want to give you a lot of information about the upcoming year. And let's see, so the South Node is in Scorpio. It's at 12 degrees. If you have planets at 12 degrees anywhere in the zodiac, you're going to be feeling this. It's a major shift and change, especially if they square. There is an adjusting energy. So we're finding out what's going on. So say you have an Aquarius or a Leo planet around 12 degrees. You're going to have to shift and change your psychology around what your belief system is. And, Leo is about ego. It's about being in the center of attention and connectivity to other people. Aquarius is connecting, but on a larger scale, and it is technological and neurological. So you're, especially with Aquarius, you're definitely going to be probably addressing more issues of mental health. If you have Leo planets, you're going to be addressing more friendship energy and your place in society as you are a center of attention. And then the opposition with Taurus is going to be about money and who you are as a person, what's your value as a person. So it's pretty strong energy. The trines are going to be more emotional. So water, Pisces and Cancer will feel more emotional and maybe letting go of an emotional storyline around a sentimental connection. So it could be passing and death and really dealing with the emotions and the fallout from something with a friend or a long-standing storyline of emotion. Could be a partnership, a relationship, that kind of thing, home, family life, that kind of thing. Moving up to the top, we're going to talk about the sun at 24 in Sagittarius. He is moving on into Capricorn here on the 21st, I believe it is. Yeah, he moves in at 4:48 p.m. Eastern and 1:48 p.m. Pacific, which is 9:48 p.m. GMT. And it's the winter solstice and also Yule, according to my calendar here. And so Moon enters Sagittarius at 2:12 a.m. on the 21st Wednesday. And then there's a Moon trine Jupiter in Aries, which is going to really bring out that drive to take care of something and make a change. Sun enters Capricorn, and then the Sun immediately squares Jupiter at 7:50 p.m. And so that's ego again. It is the structure and the structure of your ego. It is possibly a challenge to your ego based on what an authority figure says. But because Jupiter is brand new in the Aries energy, Jupiter's going to rise to the occasion and say, no, I'm going to not take what you want, because Jupiter doesn't tend to stay in the energy of authority very easily. It's very much freedom loving. So Jupiter is going to really challenge the ego at this time. And the sun in Capricorn is not necessarily going to get its way. I think Jupiter, being the tremendous, powerful, large planet that it is, will probably win the battle on the ego that day. Which means, what does that mean? It means that the drive to do something without thinking it through fully is probably going to be paramount and win the day, as opposed to the analytical structures that are coming in. Now, if Mercury were in that sign, yes, we would see a little bit more thoughtfulness about action being taken, but that's not the case. The sun is actually, I see the sun as shining the light on the issue and bringing the attention to it, but it isn't necessarily something that's going to do due diligence. It's much more about sense of self and how do I feel about it in my personhood. Let's see what else we have here. Oh yeah, so we're wrapping up Sagittarius. Again, wrapping up an old story around where we're living and looking forward to living in another new environment. When the sun goes into Capricorn, he will join Venus and Mercury. Venus and Mercury have just recently gone in there a week ago. And so Mercury, being the fast moving planet that it is at 14. So we are in our shadow period now, because that's where he retrogrades back to. And so when he retrogrades back, he will go, let's see, all the way back to 8 degrees, which is where Venus is Venus is there today. Venus, of course, will be a few days forward when the sun goes in on the 21st. And so it's going to get probably closer to about 12 degrees. The Venus Mercury story is definitely going to get a little bit extra light shown on it. And Venus, of course, is women, structure around women. And then Mercury is speaking your truth and speaking clear, defined, and truthful words, which is really interesting because right now Mercury is in conjunct to the energy of Mars, and that's 150 degrees apart. So Mercury, the ruling planet of Gemini, where Mars is at, is saying, yeah, but you need to be forthright. And so Mars wants to just act on whatever Mars wants to act on in Gemini. So it's like, I'm going to go do this, and things are going to change because that's the nature of Gemini. And Mercury also up here in Capricorn wants to change, but Capricorn doesn't want to change. So Mercury is having a little bit of stress aspect going on. So this means the technology, the appliances, the thought processes, the decisions, contracts, even, cars, what we're doing with cars and appliances, any kind of transportation or electronic situation can really be frustrating us right now. So I'm just giving you a heads up for that. Probably for the week. Know that, this next week, well, I should say more than for the week, because Mercury is in conjunct to Mars in Gemini, and then he retrogrades for 3 weeks. So I would say definitely the frustration is of wanting to act, wanting to take the detailed contractual energy and shore it up and make it real, is really not going to happen until Mercury goes direct and then Mars goes direct. And so that will happen, like I said, the 12th of January for Mars and right around the 17th of January for Mercury. So I would say if you're going to do anything about like a commitment to a contract, or some type of document processing, test taking, things like that, buying a new appliance, doing something with your car, wait until after January 17th. Now, that being said, my daughter needs to get a new alternator. It's going to happen for free, but my guess is she's probably going to do it in those first few weeks of January. And I would recommend that not be the case to her, because she bought the car under a Mercury retrograde and it's been giving her issues and she's had other issues with it. Probably only going to stimulate that, but they won't listen to me. So it's going to be kind of que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. Anyway, last thing Mars in Gemini and Mercury retrograde in Capricorn can be small animals and health issues. So the body and the skeletal structure is ruled by Capricorn. Mercury retrograde may mean an adjustment in a medication for an issue around your body. It's only a week out from that Mercury retrograde. We are in the shadow. I have noticed through some personal health issues that I need to take more vitamins and alter the kind of vitamins I take. So I'm going to look into that. But that's the kind of thing that you're going to have come up. What are you ingesting? What types of things are helping your health, especially with the skeleton? I think I mentioned before that I have some sciatic issues. So I'm going to be doing some adjusting through vitamins to help that issue. And so, yeah, we move on to Pluto, 27 degrees, clear sailing until he goes into Aquarius, wrapping up the old story, but still having other planets retrograde. Like I said, Mercury is going to retrograde in Capricorn, but Pluto is at the last degrees, the last 10 degrees. He's really looking to accent the need to live in your own truth. And that's what we're going to be focusing on for the first, the first 3 months of 2023 with the Pluto energy in last degrees of Capricorn. So really saying, nope, this is what I need to do to be happy. I'm not going to be swayed by other people in my system, in my structure, and my authority, like orb. I'm going to live my truth and really gel that in and set it in stone with the 27, 28, 29 degrees of Capricorn. Okay, Saturn in Aquarius 21, same thing, last 10 degrees, moves into a new sign in March as well. So these two planets are kind of in tandem right now, but they are in conjunct, which is 30 degrees apart. So there could be a little back and forth between how we're going to take care of things with what that structure looks like. Saturn wants it to be much more freedom loving. Don't give me any restrictions, especially now that Saturn's direct. He's trying to shore up how that maybe chaotic feeling energy looks. And then Pluto is really trying to set a new dogma into place around how we feel about our own needs and desires. And so they are both working to shift us to a new energy, which will be Pluto in Aquarius and Saturn in Pisces. So just know that that's happening the first 3 months of the year. If you have any planets interacting in a strong way, oppositions, conjunctions, squaring, or trines even to that 21 and 27 degrees Capricorn and Aquarius, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a shift and change around altering the structure and the system and the connectivity to people in your group, in your soul group. And especially because Capricorn rules your career and Aquarius rules the people associated with your career and your life purpose. That combination of Capricorn Aquarius planets are really shifting us all out of the energy of bricks and mortar and hierarchical structure into a quantum, self-motivated, entrepreneurial energy. So it's really going to be even more pointed after March. There will be some adjustments with the retrogrades back into, I'm not sure if Saturn goes back to Aquarius. I think it does, but it won't be for real long, maybe a few months. And then Pluto goes back into Capricorn for, I think, about 4 months in 23. Yeah, and then Neptune, again, water energy. It is interacting with other planets around 22 degrees. It is in positive aspect to Pluto. So it's making the dream come true, really working in tandem with the structural system and the shift to make that dream come true. There is right now there isn't a square, but Juno is at 18 Pisces. Juno's approaching Neptune. That could be an ideal marriage situation. Saturn and Aquarius is really interesting. This energy, I noticed throughout this year, Aquarius energy and Uranus really were working together in Taurus to bring about a more idealized situation with relationships. And Juno at 18 Pisces is joining up with the dream and vision and, our ideal situation with Neptune. So that's coming in as a way to create that. And then Vesta, which is home and hearth, is at 8 degrees Pisces. So there really is a strong energy around that. Anyway, we've got the strong energy coming in around marriage and the dream and the vision coming in. And then because Juno and Neptune are really cooperative to Capricorn energy, and then Mercury and Venus, we're going to have some positive forward momentum around gelling in a new system associated with the dream and possibly even marriage coming in. Just look forward to that. Neptune still right there joining up with Juno, and Juno's conjunct Neptune. And so that creates that positive sextile energy to the Capricorn planets, including Venus. And then Neptune, really our desires are being shown to us. Okay, that's really what's coming up in the overall scope. Let's see if there's anything else I want to mention for the rest of the week. Yes, there is. Besides the winter solstice and Sun in Capricorn, which we already went over, there is a new moon at 1 degree of Capricorn as well on Wednesday, or excuse me, a new moon at 1 degree of Capricorn on Friday, the 23rd. And that happens at 5:17 a.m. and 2:17 a.m. Pacific. So Chiron moves direct at 4:31 a.m. And then we have that immediate new moon. And so it's going to be really interesting because the new moon just enters Capricorn. And so there's going to be that moon, sun, Venus, Mercury, and Pluto. So it is about the looking at the situation with clear, literal eyes is exactly what it is, one for one. That's the sun. Moon in early degrees of Capricorn is the desire aligns. That is the storyline answer. And in this case, I would say if you're getting things squared away and new systems in place, that's a yes for that. Venus at 8 degrees is desire as well. Mercury is going to be the mind is aligned with the desire. And then Pluto is making the shift for our lives. And so even though even though Mercury goes retrograde in the month of January, the moon is in new position and then ultimately exits with a conjunction to Pluto. So it really is a shift to a new structural system as we head into the year 2023. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be chaotic. It's going to be trying at times, and you definitely will want to ground. But because the beginning of the year is always a Capricorn energy, there is the ability to have a stable situation. But with Mercury retrograde this year, it's just going to kind of kick this year off with that Mercury energy, mercurial. And retrograde means that we tend to shift to the opposite energy from what Capricorn is over to Cancer. So it could be a realignment around home and career. That's the story this week. The new moon, again, creating something new, bringing it into the physical realm and shifting out of the Sagittarius energy, immediately going into Capricorn and wanting to shore things up. Because that degree is when we saw the housing crisis, I think it's going to give us shades of what that was when Pluto went in. But I think because it's new, we're going to have to readjust our thinking, and there may be some new information coming out around 2008 from what happened in 2008 with the housing crisis, especially because the new moon is going to square Jupiter at early degrees of Aries, and that is sales and it is housing sales. So new moon in Capricorn is going to give us a very sober view with a square to Jupiter come that particular new moon. And that is Friday of this coming week. So 23, which is also a very interesting numerological connectivity. We're going into 23 the year, and the new moon is at 23 degrees Capricorn right there, squaring the new 0 degree energy of Jupiter. Should be interesting. Yeah, let me know how it affects you. Please do like, comment, subscribe, links below, and we'll see you next week with a lot more information for each of the individual zodiac signs. Hope you found yours here today as well. That's all. Take care. Bye.
Hi, this is Shelley. Thank you for joining us this week. To contact me for a private reading, go to angeliczodiac.com under the Readings tab.
Hi, and welcome to the December 16th. Okay, we'll get that right next time. Angels are around.
To purchase my ebook, Learn Astrology, you can find it at angeliczodiac.com. Background music was provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. Be sure to check back next week and subscribe through iTunes at AstroEnergy Astrology Show.